What?
Subscribe.
Subscribe. We'll highlight all that. Don't you worry.
I'm just
But of
saying,
course,
you gotta remind people. You want to get
Subscribe right now.
subscribe.
subscribe. Of course.
Philadelphia, baby, you're gonna love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
This is the Get in the Hole podcast, wherever you may be, however you may be listening. We are live from the underground on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and wherever you get your favorite shows. We're bringing you all the news, the betting tips, and the updates from across the golfing world, as we are only 2 weeks away from the 2025 Ryder Cup at Bethpage. The Walker Cup wrapped up earlier this weekend with a huge win from Team USA. We'll chat all things about the team, what to expect from the future of USA Golf. We got Procore Championship this week. We got the BMW PGA out in Europe. Lots of Ryder Cup names taking part in the field. And we have, of course, our betting tips, beer money, and what we heard this week in the world of golf. Steve McAvoy here on a Monday. Let's go.
Subscribe to Get in the Hole Pod.
Welcome into episode 221 of the Get in the Hole podcast. Steve McAvoy here riding solo as KB gets some much needed rest off. Of course, we have a whole entire slew of things to get into this week. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on all our social media platforms at Get in the Hole Pod. And of course, at Underground Sports PHI on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Spotify. Leave that 5-star rating. Give us a like, comment on what you want to see in the future. I want to start the show off really quickly with a bit of a public service announcement. With KB taking a bit of a break from the show, some much needed rest, our CEO wearing far too many hats. This is my public service announcement to anybody out there who would like or has the chops, you think, to handle me in the hosting seat. I am now open and looking for new podcast hosts to join me here on Get in the Hole, my right-hand man. We can shoot the shit, go back and forth, talk about golf. If you know anything about the game, you love the game, whether you're technical, a fan, have that opinion that people don't necessarily know about, and you want to be able to voice it, definitely come and give me a shout. You can check my social media handle out down here on the bottom at Steve McAvoy __ on both Twitter and Instagram. Feel free to shoot me a DM, give me a comment, leave something out here on this episode on YouTube or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you want to hold us, or at our email at undergroundsportsphiladelphia at gmail.com. Be sure to reach out to us. Let us know if you are interested. You can find us basically anywhere. So for anybody who is intrigued, we are in fact looking for folks to join the Get in the Hole team, whether it be behind the scenes or in the seat with me. So give me a shout for that one. With that being said, let's jump into a loaded show this week on the pod as we start off with the biggest story of the week. The USA Walker Cup team absolutely annihilated the Great Britain Ireland team at Cypress Point in the Walker Cup, the 50th running of the event. 17-9, their fifth straight victory. They won 8 of 10 singles matches on Sunday. So when I tell you that it was so narrow and so tight the whole way through, but they were managed to get so far out ahead on Sunday with honestly some incredible talent. They were able to claim the Walker Cup, another huge victory for Team USA. Maybe it's a precursor for what to see at the Ryder Cup in 2 weeks here at Bethpage. 2 very different courses, 2 very historic courses between Cypress Point and Bethpage. But the biggest story about all of this is truly with this win for the USA. It's their 5th straight victory in the Walker Cup, their largest winning streak since 1973 through 1987. Back then, Jack Nicklaus was on those teams, had some legendary players on both U.S. and European sides. But the real question to me is watching this Walker Cup team, there seemed to be something a little bit different in the atmosphere, something different with the vibe of this team. And I think it really boils down to the fact that we may actually have the brightest future of golfers in American golf. Now, KB and I have gone back and forth about this for months on end, right? You look at the European side and what they've been able to accomplish with even take their current Ryder Cup team, right? A lot of youth, a lot of skill set that you don't that you don't really get much of in America anymore, right? Ludwig Oberg is in a really a field of his own when it comes to the next wave of players coming over from Europe. Of course, played his college golf at Texas Tech, so he knows what it's like to play in America. But coming from Sweden, owning his game, was a top player in not only Sweden but in all of Europe, and as early as the age of 15 years old. He comes over. He's been an absolute phenomenon. Bobby Mack finally breaking out in his early 20s. Matt Fitzpatrick played his college golf at Northwestern, was a top amateur in the world in Europe much earlier on in his career. Rasmus Højgaard starting to really break out. Sepp Straka played his college golf at UGA, having his breakout as well this year on tour. And even the older guys on tour, right? We had phenoms like Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, Rory McIlroy, Justin Rose, all had super big hype as amateurs out in Europe, played their college golf, some in America, some went directly into the pro game in Europe and America. But at the end of the day, we haven't seen much of a sculpt out, or at least a panning out of top tier talent in America, right? You go to, I remember back in 2020, 2021, the story was it was Max Homa, it was Colin Morikawa, the Cal Berkeley guys. Oklahoma State was producing Victor Hovland and Matthew Wolff at the time. Hovland being, again, another European phenom. Akshay Bhatia went right to the pro game straight out of high school. Now, the latest significance of that, Luke Clanton finally getting his PGA Tour card, and a few others. But the skill gap between a lot of the guys in the USA, we're seeing a lot more late breakouts, right? Russell Henley, a late breakout. Ben Griffin, a late breakout. Spawn, Cameron Young. A lot of these guys, when you look at the Ryder Cup team, Sam Burns even, a later breakout than you see from some top European players. And when you look at the Walker Cup team as it pertains to them, this might be the best batch of young, talented golfers that we've ever had. And if all of them break out at the same time, many of them are actually coming into the PGA Tour ranks very soon. Like Luke Clanton missed out on the Walker Cup solely because he has already turned pro out of Florida State. Nick Dunlap already turned pro out of Alabama. But you look at this winning team, right? Michael Lasasso, he won the Division I stroke play tournament. He's the number 3 ranked amateur in the world. He's a senior going into his senior year at Ole Miss, played formerly at NC State. In his last 36 events in the last 2 years, 12 top 10s. Ben James, one spot ahead of him, number 2 amateur in the world. He's a senior at Virginia. He's made back-to-back Walker Cup teams, back-to-back champion, qualified for the last 2 U.S. Opens, 17 top 10s in his last 38 events. Literally half of his events in the last 2 years, he's finished in the top 10. And then that's only the beginning point, right? The 3 other big names I want to point out. Jackson Koiven, you probably have heard of him, rising junior at Auburn, already has his PGA Tour card through the accelerator program, already got his 20 points. What it took Luke Clanton 3 years, it took Jackson Koiven 2. He was the SEC Rookie of the Year, the Rookie of the Year in all of college golf, was the SEC Player of the Year his sophomore year. He's the world number 1 amateur in the world. He won the SEC Stroke Play Championship, 3 straight top 11s in pro events, the John Deere, the ISCO, and the Wyndham. Like, this guy has just onions as a pro golfer, and he has everything that it takes now to be what Ludwig Oberg is now for Team Europe and can do it in a heartbeat. Not many guys can go right into the pro game while already being a college student and go out there and have 3 straight top 11s, right? Luke Clanton had, 5 or 6 finishes in the top 20 to get his accelerated card by his junior year. Like, these guys are 20, 21 years old. It's very different than when Colin Morikawa came up and Matthew Wolff came up and all these guys, they were already 24, 25. You look at guys, most recently, Justin Suh, he's been back and forth on the Korn Ferry Tour. John Pak hasn't made his way up to the top flight yet. Looking deeper down this Walker Cup team, Preston Stout, he's a junior at OK State. He's the number 5 amateur in the world. Probably the most underrated guy on this list, right? 13 top 25s and 14 college events in 2025. All this happening solely in 25. 8 top 10s, 6 straight top 10s, ended with a 3rd place finish in the NCAA Stroke Play Final. Palmer and Walker Cup this year. He won the Northeast Am, finished top 10 at the USAM, won the Big 12 title with OK State, both stroke play and match play. And on top of all that, who's the youngest guy of the bunch on this Walker Cup team? was Mason Howell. He's the reigning U.S. amateur. He won it at 17 years old. He's the third youngest person to ever win the U.S. amateur. Like an absolute wild run. He was the 63 seed in the Havemeyer and won the trophy. 20-for-17 playoff. Like, he's managing to do things at 17 that you don't see in a lot of these kind of guys. He's had only 3 finishes outside of the top 10 in the AJGA tournaments since October of 2024 in a calendar year. Only 3 finishes outside of the top 10. By the way, all those finishes though came in the top 30. He's 19th currently in the AJGA rankings. Like, where he is at 17 years old, he's a verbal commit to Georgia. The 2 names, and then really the 3 names that stand out the closest to where he is right now at his skill set is Blades Brown, Miles Russell, and Charlie Woods, right? Charlie's finally coming into form. Played really well at the TaylorMade Invitational. Recently made a second ace. We're going to probably see him at the PNC with his dad coming up in November. Blades Brown, 16-year-old phenom, turns pro immediately. Very similar to the Akshay Bhatia kind of trajectory that he's on. Don't have a lot of scope into what he's done yet. He tried to qualify for the U.S. Open. He made it to final qualifying. Wasn't able to get there. Miles Russell probably has been the best player of the bunch overall when you look at overall body of work for what he's been able to do over the last however many months. He's been absolutely phenomenal. He's the current number 1 ranked AJGA player in the world. He won the Junior Player Championship only a week ago. He finished 5th in the Junior Amateur, finished 7th at the TaylorMade Invitational. He won the Junior Invitational at Sage Valley. He had 3 straight wins in March, February, and then November of last year. He has been on an absolute tear. And on top of that, like, for a 16-year-old, he has I see it here on his flight scope. He has ball speed, club head speed, smash ratings of like big time pros. 120 mile an hour ball speed on his 6-iron, 160 miles an hour on his driver, club head speeds of 88 miles an hour and 108 6-iron to driver. His carry yards, his 6-iron goes 180 yards. My 7-iron goes 180 yards. Like, what are we doing here? He carries the ball 287 yards. The launch angles are perfect. The spins are tremendous. He has everything you need to already be a pro. He graduates in 2027. I don't know if he's going to go pro at which point. So follow someone like Blades Brown and go pro immediately in Akshay Bhatia. But this guy has everything that it takes to be a top flight golfer on the PGA Tour. And between him and the Walker Cup team, that's really just scraping the surface. College golf is only getting better. We talk about it in every other sport, right? You see the guys in the MLB and the NBA. I mean, the NBA and the NFL are 2 different stories, right? Because there's no like middle tier before you go to the big game, right? But in the MLB, college athletes are only getting that much better. You're seeing less and less guys go and leave out of high school and go to the pros. They're also in the minor leagues for 8-9 years. You don't see them until they're 26 years old. Meanwhile, you have guys like Jack Cogliano, Michael Mayer, Roman Anthony. All these guys went to college. Pete Alonso now with the Mets, right? Went to college, coming up at a year, maybe 2 years into their minor league stints. Yeah, they're a little bit older. They're 24 years old, but they're playing more and they're honing their game properly. We're seeing a lot of guys in the college game doing that exact same thing. And even if they leave as a sophomore or a junior, it doesn't matter because they're getting the most value out of their overall play playing in college. I understand the scheduling is really challenging because now you're also a full-time student. You could very well go pro, but let's be honest, there aren't many avenues to immediately just go pro and play in all these tournaments. It's a big monetary commitment. It's challenging for guys to go pro, even out of college, and have the money to support a golf career. A lot of guys, I've talked to folks in the past. I think Carrie is a great brand. Shout out to Donnie Dotson over there. Like, their whole goal is to try and compensate athletes who are trying to go to tournaments, drive to tournaments, fly to tournaments, qualify in Monday Qs, which eventually they're going to get rid of. I'll talk more about that later. But that the beauty of golf is that anybody can do it. And the reality is that if you can get your chops in college, it's way more effective than immediately going pro. And a lot of these guys, we're seeing them on the biggest stage, Lasasso, James, Koiven, Stout, and now eventually Howell. They're all top college players. You can get your PGA Tour card immediately and accelerated. You can go and get a sponsor exemption if you're that good, like Nick Dunlap, who was a top amateur in the world, got his exemption, won his first ever event at the Amex. So anything is possible for a lot of these guys. But I think this is really showing the brightest future for American golf that we may have ever seen. And I get it. Maybe it's a stretch because there have been decades and years where guys have come out. I mean, you just talked about Scottie Scheffler only a few weeks ago in his Ryder Cup conference, was talking about how he played junior golf with Sam Burns. He's been friends with him forever. JT and Spieth grew up playing together. Ricky Fowler and that same sort of bunch. A lot of these guys played junior golf together. But at the same time, took them all varying kinds of years to get here. Jordan Spieth was great in 2015, immediately out of college. It took Scottie a year and a half to become the kind of player that he is. Took JT a year and a half to become the player that he is. Bryson DeChambeau went pro in 2016. He didn't really figure it out until 2020, 2019. So, like, these guys playing college golf early and now they're 21, 22. You don't see that a lot now out of the current echelon of pros, right? Colin entered the pro game at 25. Matt Wolff entered at 25. But then you look at Europe, Ludwig Oberg enters at 23. Joaquin Niemann enters in at 21. They have a different timeline than the Americans. And so if we can get a Jackson Koiven to turn pro in the next year, Ben James is going to be 23 years old, Lasasso 23, Stout's going to be 22, Howell's only 17. These guys turn pro and they become top flight golfers. This is going to be your Ryder Cup team in 6-7 years, maybe even less. You look at the Ryder Cup teams right now. We talk about how good Europe is, right? We go back to my very beginning, my very opening point. The Ryder Cup team for the Europeans is so good because they have a skill set that starts at a young age. A lot of these guys were young golf phenoms. They've built their body of work into the kind of pros they are today. Rory McIlroy is the best player in the world. Justin Rose at one point was the best player in the world, and even in his mid-40s is still a top-tier player in the world to automatically qualify for the Ryder Cup. Tommy Fleetwood, his first time winning happens a month ago. He's a top flight player in the world. He's one of the best players in the world. Arguably, probably a top 3 player in the world this for the last 24 months, 12 months. It's about time that we see the Americans truly break out with some young, talented stars. And some of these guys have even made it known on PGA Tour events. Lasasso finished. He made the cut at the 3M Open. Koiven, 3 straight top 11s. Clanton's got his 20s. Like, there's a very bright future for a lot of guys in the future of PGA Tour. Let's get into some things of the week, things that I like this week. We're changing up the shout outs of the week a little bit. I'm kind of shifting gears a little bit from just shout outs to, I want to break these things down into a little bit of subcategories. So it's the things of the week presented by our friends over at Acorn Hills. Acorn Hills getting you geared up now for the fall season with some of the best styles in the golfing landscape. Of course, you know them not only by what they wear, by what they give you in terms of value on your body, on your headwear, from head to toe. You can look incredible with Acorn Hills, but they're doing it with a environmental side to them, offering biodegradable clothing tags, packaging, recycled materials. For every dollar spent, the National Forest Foundation will plant a seedling to promote afforestation in America. They are our favorite merch partners for changing clothing through conservation, and they have the best styles that you will love, from quarter zips to hats, shirts, hoodies, polos, from on the course to off the course. Their summer drop is here. Their end of fall, their fall collection's coming out very soon. You can use code GITH15. That's get in the whole 15 for 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com. Again, GITH15 to get 15% off your next order at acornhillsco.com. And be sure to look your best from the ground up. We begin with what I like this week in the world of golf. And I got to give a shout out here to Stuart Hackstead, who at 34 years old is not only working in private equity and is a financial advisor and is doing great things in the business world, I'm sure, but he still goes to the Walker Cup and get beat up on 18 and 19-year-olds trying to make a name for themselves out in Europe. I love how Stuart Hagstead can go out and be a 34-year-old golf phenom who chose the business world instead of going pro, and is still good enough to be on the stage every single year. He's been in the last 4 or 5 USAMs, has finished in the top 15, has qualified for the Walker Cup for multiple years. I think he's one of the only back-to-back Walker Cup players in the last decade. It's absolutely hilarious that Stuart Hagstead is doing this thing and doing it so well. Let's go to what I don't like. Titleist being sued for misinformation in a class action suit. 5 golfers are banding together suing Titleist, claiming that they bought packages of the Pro V1X left dash, but were given 9 out of 12 balls that were Pro V1 left dashes, and 3 regular Pro V1Xs. They're claiming misinformation, negligence. And I think I don't like this, not because Titleist is being sued. I don't like that it's becoming a bigger story than it needs to be. Look, why this is a big story is baffling to me. Titleist is manufacturing millions on millions on millions of golf balls. They are the gold standard in the game of golf. No other golf ball, whether it's the Bridgestone Tour BX or the Callaway Chrome Soft or the Strixon Z-Star, none of these balls are coming even remotely close. The TaylorMade TP5X, none of them are coming close to the quality of the Pro V1. And it's proven. They've been doing this for 25 years. The Pro V1 came out in the late 90s. No one's been able to beat the Pro V1X or the Pro V1 or the left dash or the left dot or whatever they have coming out, all these different models. 2 things here. One, Titleist is going to settle, and these guys are going to get their money, and it's going to wash away. It's going to be a non-story in 2.5 weeks. The other thing is, too, and I think what the stupid thing is about all of this is that, let's be honest, what is the actual point of suing a top dog like this when they don't really care? They're going to do this. They're always going to be the best golf ball in the industry. They're always going to be able to make new things. And also, why are they playing Pro V1X left dashes? Like, you're not good enough to play this top flight ball. I don't know anything about the guys in the suit. I'll admit that. But you're telling me that you're going to go out of the way and you're going to spend $65 for a dozen golf balls, which, by the way, is an absurd price to pay. But also, you think you're good enough to play Pro V1X left dashes? I saw a study on My Golf Spy that was talking about how players need to get fitted for a ball. And I fit myself for a ball. I ran through all the options. I saw what was good for me. The Tour BX is my ball. Now, I don't buy them retail. I go through a third party that I can have for cheaper. Not refurbed, of course, because that's just a waste of money. But if you're really good enough to play a Titleist Pro V1X left dash, which is like the ball that Cameron Young plays and Patrick Cantlay and Scottie Scheffler and all these guys play it, you're telling me that you're really going to complain about getting some Pro V1Xs? The whole thing with the left dash, it's only a minor change from what the Pro V1X actually is as a golf ball. These different things, left dashes, left dots, right dash, whatever it might be, they're small, minor tweaks. So cool. Yeah. You have the best golf ball on the market right now. But at the end of the day, what good is it? Are you really even that good to play it? I think this is an absolutely stupid story that we're talking about. These guys shouldn't even be playing these golf balls to begin with. Go play the regular golf balls that everyone else is playing and call it a day. Let's get to what I heard this week in the golf world. On Pardon My Take this week, Scottie Scheffler said to the guys that he would trade a major for a Cowboys title. Now, I've had this debate multiple times with some friends, trying to be like, would you, whatever, give up your firstborn child for a Mets World Series? Or I've seen 2 Giants Super Bowls already, so that's great. But the Knicks haven't won since the 70s. The Mets haven't won since 86. The Rangers since 94. I think it's interesting that Scottie says he would give up one of his majors. I'm curious, though, he didn't specify which major he would give up. So if I were Scottie Scheffler, I put myself in his shoes for the moment. I think the major that I would give up would probably be the 2025 PGA Championship. And maybe it's a homer choice here, but I think his 2 Masters wins were way bigger. And his Open Championship, of course. I mean, look, you're the world champion. You're the world golfer of the year. World champion golfer of the year. That's what you are when you win the Open. He more than deserves that, and that's probably the greatest honor in the sport, being able to go to the homeland of where golf was founded and go and win. Both of his Masters wins in 2022 over Cam Smith, I think, was historic. It was a huge win for him. I think the 2024 Masters was also a huge get over the hump for Scheffler. That was on pace for another 6 or 7 wins straight. Beat out a loaded field: Fleetwood, DeChambeau, Collin, Homa, Oberg. Like, he beat truly one of the best top 10 fields I think we've ever seen in golf. Again, in 22, went head to head with Cameron Smith, managed to win that one. So I would give up the PGA. I don't think the PGA is as big of a tournament as people make it out to be. I think it was better when it was match play all the way back in the day, and I will die on the hill saying that the PGA should be that 10-day long event, 164 golfers, pros, players, everybody could play in it. I think that's what makes the tournament better. I think the PGA doesn't have a real identity amongst the other 3, right? The Masters will always be synonymous with Augusta and spring and one of the first Sundays in April. You're always looking forward to the Masters. The U.S. Open, hardest tournament in golf by far. The Open, link style, has a kind of course design that's unique. The homeland of golf. PGA doesn't really have that. They've had tournaments at Quail Hollow, a constant PGA Tour stop. Valhalla, where the scoring average was 68. Like, I think the PGA would benefit if they had their tournaments at a municipal golf course. Go back to Bethpage. Go to Harding Park once again. Go to Torrey Pines. Go to those places where anybody can play it. The whole point of the PGA, PGA of America, not the Professional Golfers Association. The whole point is for everybody, openness, give the opportunity to club pros, to locals, anybody who's able to qualify for the PGA Championship should be able to play and go play it at the municipal golf courses that we learned and love to go and play. What did I see this week? I saw Sergio Garcia, which I didn't expect on my radar for things to hear or see. But the other day, Sergio Garcia withdrew himself from the Irish Open, which many other Ryder Cup players were playing in. Shane Lowry went to go play. Rory McIlroy played. Rory McIlroy actually won the tournament as well. And Sergio goes out on a limb. He withdraws from the event, and he said, and I quote, let me find the quote here because I think it was absolutely hilarious as to why he said this. Sergio Garcia said, and I quote, "I felt like I was so looking forward to being part of the Ryder Cup team, and I felt like mentally it was kind of tough to play in the Irish Open. I didn't want to go there and not be fully engaged in the tournament and stuff. I just decided to take a little bit of time off, spend it with the family, and do a couple things, some things outside of golf, and just keep kind of reboot a little bit, recharge the batteries." Garcia then went to the U.S. Open. He watched Carlos Alcaraz in the quarterfinal. Alcaraz played golf with Garcia the following Wednesday. But I think this story is absolutely hilarious because Sergio Garcia had 0 shot to even make the Ryder Cup team to begin with. And the fact that he withdrew for this reason is the funniest thing that I have heard the entirety of the week. He has two top 10 finishes on the LIVGolf Tour as of April. Finished 3rd in Miami, finished 10th in Spain at Andalusia. He won in Hong Kong in March. He finished 6th in Riyadh, finished 4th in the International Series on the Asian circuit. That's the only, and a couple of decent finishes in the year prior finished second in Chicago, 8th at the Greenbrier, won in Spain a year ago. But none of that is even close to the body of work that it takes to qualify or even get a captain's pick for the Ryder Cup. Dating back to 2022, he has one singular top 20 finish in a major tournament, 2024 U.S. Open. Outside of that, you're telling me that like Bryson didn't deserve to get a captain's pick? Or I mean, he automatically qualified, which makes it even better. And he only played majors. Jon Rahm, comparatively to Sergio Garcia, had a run of like 15 straight top 20s, top 10s. Runner up in Indianapolis, runner up in Chicago, 5th place in the UK, runner up in Spain, top 10 straight U.S. Open in Virginia, the PGA, in Korea, Mexico City at the Masters, in Miami, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, Riyadh. Won in Chicago last year, finished 5th at the Olympics, 2nd at the Greenbrier, 3 straight top 7s on the European Tour at the Andalusia Masters, the Dunhill Links Championship, and the Open of Spain. That gets you a captain's pick. Jon Rahm, there was no doubt he was going to make this team. But Sergio Garcia, to say this, and then I think what's even funnier is that both Rahm and Rory go out and say that what an absurd thing to say. Sergio is out here just looking for somebody to complain to and someone to listen to him. Like, pathetic, honestly. And you know what? Great. Like, he's one of the greatest European Ryder Cup players of all time. He's won so many points for this team. He was one of the biggest threats in 2021 at Whistling Straits when the USA won. But at the end of the day, like, brother, don't even try. You had zero shot of making it. Finally, things that I'm excited for this week. Bryson DeChambeau had probably one of the coolest moments of the week, aside from, of course, a lot of NFL football. Bryson finished his underdog ping pong shot cup challenge, whatever you want to call it, in 12 days with over 1,200 shots. Probably more than that, actually, right? He had like a 12 days, 1,200 shots. Yeah. So over probably 3,000 golf shots, more than that. Finally, we got a ball into a shot cup. We'll post the link in our description so you can watch the video back. A really challenging golf shot, honestly. And what I'm excited for is the fact that now he's giving away a Bentley, and I'm hoping to God that I can land it because my Hyundai Tucson is not really pulling it for me now, even though I'm still paying it off. I think a Bentley will be a pretty cool thing to get, valued at like $250,000, probably a little more than that. That's a pretty cool thing to win. So shout out to Bryson DeChambeau. Big win for you. Another great challenge. Really excited to see what you have coming up in the future. And finally, the final thing of the week that I absolutely love are birthday shout outs. I want to give a big birthday shout out to the one and only Arnold Palmer, as we're only a couple of weeks away from the Ryder Cup. How else can we commemorate the Ryder Cup as we do that every single week now, leading up to the event, with the birthday shout out to the last player captain ever in the history of the event back in the 80s. In the lead up to what should have been the first Ryder Cup players captain since Arnie, we celebrate the life of a true legend, a Mount Rushmore figure. Palmer was one of the superstars of sports in TV, leading the PGA Tour through the 60s with multiple money list leads, Player of the Year awards, 7 major titles from 1958 to 1970. He won 62 times on PGA Tour, good for 5th all time, and was one of the pioneers of the Champions Tour, claiming 2 of its first 4 ever major championships and winning 10 times overall. Palmer passed away in 2016 and had his ashes spread at his hometown of Latrobe Country Club in Pennsylvania. He was 87 years old, so a big shout out to Arnold Palmer, the king of golf. We'll enjoy a half and half on you in honor of you this week. We're going to take a short break. On the other side, we're going to get to the Procore and BMW Championships, break down the fields this week, as most of the Ryder Cup players will be in the field. Some pairings came out, might mean we have some pretty interesting news to look forward to, and we'll give you our beer money picks for both the Procore and the BMW. Don't go anywhere. Stephen McAvoy here from the Underground. Get in the Hole is brought to you by our amazing merch partners, PHI Apparel Company. With their unique designs for all, there's no doubt in our minds you will stand out in the crowd. Rep your favorite golf podcast and get your official Get in the Hole shirts and hoodies at phiapparel.co. When you check out, use code UNDERGROUND to get 10% off your entire order. Again, that's code UNDERGROUND for 10% off your next merch order at phiapparel.co. Stand out in the crowd, on the course, at the 19th hole, or quite frankly, anywhere with the official merch partner of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Welcome in to Get in the Hole. Back again for the second half of the show. Stephen McAvoy here, riding solo as KB gets some much-needed R&R this week. Let's get right into the Procore Championship and what to expect this week, as well as the BMW. So the Procore out in Napa, Silverado Country Club in Napa, California. The BMW PGA happening on the other side of the pond this week over in... oh gosh, great podcasting. I should probably know where it's being played. Whoa, that would be a big stretch. They're playing in Surrey at the Wentworth Club in Surrey, England. We got some news earlier in the day as we record here on a Monday. We got some pairings to go over. We'll get to those in just a minute. But some of the things to note here going into the week, we already had word from both Keegan Bradley and Luke Donald that this is going to be the tune-up week for the Ryder Cup. Next week, there will be a European Tour event. There will also be a PGA Tour event. There's not a lot of traction happening for those guys as no one's going to be playing in the French Open for the Europeans. On the U.S. side, I believe the Sanderson Farm Invitational is going to be next week. Actually, no, there is no golf next week on the PGA Tour. So this is going to be the only event in America. They're going to have the Open of France the following week after the BMW PGA. Might see a little bit more action from those players there, but odds are probably not. So we'll keep you updated on that. But the Procore is going to be the one opportunity. Keegan Bradley said definitively he's going to have his guys there. Try to get Bryson DeChambeau in the field, but of course, the suspension from the PGA Tour did not allow him to play. 10 of the 12 Ryder Cuppers will be in the field, including some vice captains. Bryson will not be there, as well as Xander Schauffele. Xander Schauffele celebrating the birth of his child. So he is out this week. He will be available for the Ryder Cup, though, in a couple of weeks. On the BMW side, 11 of the 12 Ryder Cup players for the Europeans will be in the field. The only exception to that is Sepp Straka, who, just like Xander Schauffele, is also celebrating the birth of his second child. So congratulations to both Sepp and Xander. Maybe this means they'll have lifelong friends. Maybe it means they'll have a singles match between Xander and Sepp. Who knows? But Sepp Straka has had a tremendous year, double or three-time winner on the tour this year, including at the Tour Championship in Philadelphia. Xander, up and down year, didn't get a lot of big wins, but has managed to basically stay in the hunt the entirety of the year to have some pretty damn good results. And that being said, we do have some pairings that released. We don't have officials on the BMW. We do have some loose tee times, but for the Procore Championship, you can expect the following. Scottie Scheffler will be teeing it up with Russell Henley and JJ Spawn at 3:38 on Thursday and 10:33 on Friday. Colin Morikawa is paired up with Harris English and vice captain Webb Simpson at 3:49 p.m. on Thursday and 10:44 a.m. Friday. Patrick Cantlay and Sam Burns will be paired up with Gary Woodland at 4 o'clock on Thursday, 10:55 on Friday. And Justin Thomas, Ben Griffin, and Cameron Young will all be paired up 4:11 on Thursday, 11:06 on Friday. So we're going to have some vice captains in the field. Keegan Bradley will not be playing, but he will, in fact, be in attendance. Brant Snedeker, another vice captain, will also be in the field. He'll be checking in on a few other players as well. On the BMW side, Rory is tearing it up with Shane Lowry and John Rahm. That's a heavyweight group right there. Of course, Rory and Lowry won the Zurich Classic last year in stunning fashion, saying some don't stop believing. And they've been notable, of course, as two really close friends, both Irishmen. Bobby Mack is teeing it up with Tyrrell Hatton, Victor Hovland with Rasmus Højgaard, Justin Rose with Tommy Fleetwood, and Ludwig Åberg with Matt Fitzpatrick. Now, this is a little bit experimental, I think, for the European side, because we noted last week, we've seen teams like Rory McIlroy and Tommy Fleetwood. Justin Rose has teed it up with Tyrrell Hatton before. We've seen Hovland and Oberg together. Also saw Nikolai Højgaard last year with Oberg as well. Fitzpatrick pairs up really well with Fleetwood and Hatton and the like. John Rahm has paired up usually with a younger player, bringing some veteran presence. I think Rory and Rahm would be incredible against like a Scottie Bryson pairing. We've seen Scottie and Bryson back in 2021. In terms of what to expect for the Procore side, I mean, Xander and Cantlay are always playing together, but I do think having Cantlay with Burns is also a really interesting pairing if they can pull that off. I mean, Xander and Cantlay have been partners forever. They won the Zurich 2 or 3 years ago. But Sam Burns, I think, comes into this event with a chip on his shoulder. He's the last man in the field. He really has something to prove as a Ryder Cup player. He's the best putter on earth. And this game this week at the Procore really does support short game specialists. We'll talk more about that on the betting line side. But I really do think Cantlay and Burns could be a powerhouse duo if they move Xander around a little bit. I think English really complements Colin Morikawa's game, particularly when with English's putting. We already have the story on Colin Morikawa has not been a good putter this year, but he's been one of the best approach players on tour. He's really accurate. Him and English really do complement each other really well. And on a long golf course like Bethpage could have a great drive from English, great approach shot from Colin, and then English wraps out. I mean, Scottie, you compare him with literally a bar stool, and he'll have a great outing. In my opinion, they should just play 2-on-1, and Scottie should just run circles around everybody. But if you're going to pair him up with somebody, I think a rookie is really a good move here. Henley and Spawn both certainly fit the profile of who you want. I would even consider Ben Griffin in that spot as well, but I do think the JT Griffin Young pairing is really cool. Young and Griffin, both rookies. Young's going to have the New York crowd behind him at Bethpage. He's going to hit the ball a country mile long, so you probably want someone who's a little bit more schematic from inside 150, with Cam being able to tee it off well. JT really is going to match up well with everybody. I think it's interesting because in 2021, JT was matched up with Spieth. You had Colin Morikawa, Dustin Johnson. Finding players who have similar styles to them to really make 2021 stand out when being the last time the USA has won a Ryder Cup and really dominated it in true fashion. I think this is a really interesting grouping to work with. So might be something to look at, something definitely of interest as we head into the week. But on the Procore side, at least, it's the strongest field in the history of the event, formerly the 40-net, now the Procore Championship. Some notable names also in the field this week. Sai Thigala, Luke Clanton, Ashley Batia, Tom Kim, Keith Mitchell, Max Homa, Matt McNeely, Max Greyersman, and Michael Torbjornsson. Clearly will not be as challenging as what to expect at Bethpage, but it is a great chance to hit the course, play some competitive golf. It's going to be an event that has incredibly approachable holes, so we're going to see guys attacking it, which I think kind of helps out a little bit where it's easier than Bethpage, but the Ryder Cup typically is always built around trying to get more at it, right? They've adjusted the first hole. They moved the tee box up. They want guys to attack the first hole at Bethpage. It's going to be an opportunity to drive greens very often. The rough will not be as thick as what you've seen at the US Open and the PGA in 2018 and 19. So I think that even though the Procore is an easier event and is not nearly as long in Napa as it is in New York, the vibe is going to kind of give you a sense of, all right, we can drive greens here. We can try and get a little bit more length here. Good approach shots, some blind looks. I think a lot of things to look forward to this week at the Procore. With that being said, we're going to get right into our beer money picks to wrap up the show, presented by our friends over at Kenwood Beer. You know, Kenny Gainwell for the Steelers this week was not the best player, mostly because he probably isn't playing for the Eagles anymore. But I will tell you this, Kenwood Beer was the go-to beer at the tailgates this week in Philadelphia. They are the absolute best, smoothest, clean, bright beers that you could have on the market. They're the routine choice of those who want a balanced, flavorful, no-frills beer that's right for any occasion, only 120 calories and 8 grams of carbs. You just simply can't beat the original. Head to kenwoodbeer.com and use the Kenny Tracker. You can find where you could get your hands on some ice-cold, refreshing Kenwood beer from your favorite liquor stores in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware. The Man Center, you can get those tall boys, mostly 21 years or older, to consume. And, of course, please drink responsibly. For those of you gambling, be sure to gamble in a state that allows online or in-person gambling. And please bet responsibly. We begin with a top 20 selection this week at the Procore Championship, and you're going to realize there's a really big narrative here in my picks, but I think all of them really do make a lot of sense. Again, this golf course is going to be for short game specialists. Approach game is going to be huge. Very gettable golf course, gettable par fives. And you've seen it in the kind of people who win this event in years past, right? The Procore Championship has been won by some big-time names, some small-time names. Patton Kizzire won last year. We saw Sai Thagalo win 2 years ago. Max Homa won back-to-back 2022, 2021. Stuart Sink in 2020, back when it was the Safeway. Cameron Champ in 19. And so a very, very up and down sort of field that you can expect on the fall series as we launch things off to begin the year in Napa. I believe this is going to be a big event for putters, for approach game players, and I might be seeing a little bit of a trend in guys who might be from the West Coast. So that being said, top 20 pick this week is going to be Mark Homeless Hubbard. He's a short game specialist, as you already know. Actually went to San Jose State, so he's relatively local for the area. He's from the Colorado area, but went to college out in San Jose, very close to Napa. He's an accurate driver, above average putter. He plays well in California. He has 3 top 21 finishes in 5 attempts in Napa. And if he can keep a few under par per day, I think he's got a really good shot despite the really strong field this week. Top 10 selection, I turn to another California boy from Northridge, California in Los Angeles. Akshay Bhatia, he's plus 275 for a top 10. What else is new? The California kid returns home, hits the ball a million miles. If he can putt the ball well, it's really going to be the story of the week. But his approach play is going to get him there. He should be able to go low, fire at some pins. And he had a really good run at the playoffs. He finished 6th at the FedEx St. Jude on a long golf course and 13th at one of the hardest courses on tour in Atlanta at East Lake. And again, that long driver is going to really do him well. Top 5 finish for me. I'm going to go with JJ Spawn for a top 5 plus 400. Another California boy, JJ Spawn is, and he is going to be in a really good position after a very strong breakout season and his age 35 year. I think this is going to be an event that JJ Spawn is going to be able to not only show his Ryder Cup captain that he has the ability to lead, but the body of work that Spawn has been able to put up, and this is not even including the U.S. Open throughout the course of the year. He has 4 straight top 25s at the Tour Championship, the BMW, the FedEx St. Jude, where he was a runner-up, and at the Open. Finished 15th at the Travelers. He won the U.S. Open, 6th at Charles Schwab, 17th at the Truist, 2nd at the Players, 2nd at the Cognizant. He's won and has played well in the biggest tournaments this year. And truly, if he could show his around-the-green prowess and he can match up well with someone like a Scottie Scheffler, I think there's a real potential that Spawn could be a sleeper on the Ryder Cup team. Patrick Cantlay, I'll bring it up next week on the show, and I can't believe I missed this video for the episode. I literally got it while I was scrolling in the break. Cantlay was saying it's back in 2021 that the degree of separation between players in the Ryder Cup is 1%, maybe 2% at the very most. And that means that guys who are hot, it's all about momentum. It's all about overall body of work, skill set, who you're paired up with. So many variables in the game of golf. And Spawn really does stand out as one of the top players, in my opinion, in the game. And his ability to transcend, particularly off the tee, he's been absolutely phenomenal this year. He's incredibly accurate. He's a above average distance player. His approach game has been great. The putter's been solid, that lab putter. I think Spawn can really do a lot of good things. So he's plus 400 for a top 5 selection. We go to our gimme pick, and this is where things get funny. I'm not going to go with a California guy. I'm not going to go with somebody who has had really good form and is playing this week, or is even, for that matter, playing in the Ryder Cup. However, he did technically have some college roots here. He played his college golf at USC. He's from the Philippines. I'm going to go with Rico Hoey this week. He's minus 150 for a top 40 selection. I think what's crazy about Rico Hoey that we are not talking about, and I saw a great post earlier in the week about him. Rico Hoey is first in total driving, first in greens and regs, second in strokes gain off the tee, and 16th in strokes gain approach in his various ball striking stats. He might be the tour's best ball striker, not named Scottie Scheffler. And by the way, shout out to Sean Martin at the PGA Tour for pointing this out. He ranks only behind Scottie and Colin in his tee to green, but listen to this. He's dead last in strokes gained putting. Well, listen to this. He's using a new putter this week, and apparently on the practice facility, he's been doing pretty damn good. So I think Rico Hoey can go out there. He currently plays his golf out in Rancho Cucamonga. I think he can have a really strong week in California, go up to Northern California and show out. He's minus 150 for a top 40. And I think it's very gettable despite the field that he's in. We go to our Four Nations parlay. We cannot bet a Four Nations play. We don't have a lot of diversity out in the field this week. So we're instead going to go with a top 30, 20, 10, 5 Ryder Cup selection. You can get this at plus 2,300. I'm going to go top 30 Colin Morikawa. That putter, I just simply don't trust it, but I do think that Colin can put up a good showing in lieu of a Ryder Cup. Top 20, I'm going to go Justin Thomas. Has had a really good run as of late. You probably could bet him a little bit higher, but for the sake of who I have at 10 and 5, I'll keep him in the top 20. Russell Henley at a top 10. I'll take Patrick Cantlay as well at a top 5. So it's Colin 30, JT 20, Henley 10, Cantlay 5. All Ryder Cup players, all needing to play really well. Cantlay has the best overall strokes gained in the state of California amongst everybody else in the field. Henley is second. JT is third in that category, and Colin's top 5. We go to our ladder parlay, our 40, 30, 20, another one for you. But this one, we're going to go outside of the Ryder Cup field. This one is 15 to 1. I'm going to go with Semi Valimaki for a top 40, Matt Kuchar top 30, and Bo Hostler top 20. All have really good success in California and have the skills to get it done this week. Finally, our winner at the Procore Championship as we wrap things up for you. I'm not going with Scottie Scheffler, but this is, of course, your PSA. You can get him at a whopping plus 210. For reference, guys, you have better odds for Scheffler to win the Procore in a field of 156 than the Chicago Bears do in week 2. Let it soak in a little bit. The Chicago Bears are playing the Detroit Lions. You can get Scheffler against 156 players at the same odds as Caleb Williams to lead the Bears to victory in Ben Johnson's return to Detroit. With that being said, the Procore Championship winner, in my opinion, is going to be Sam Burns. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The chip on his shoulder as being the last man in the field at the Ryder Cup, being the best putter on the planet, and sporting a body of work this year that has a long driver, a really, really good breakout around the green sort of play. The accuracy hasn't necessarily been there, but if he could tighten up, back-to-back top 10s at the BMW and the Tour Championship, finished top 10 at the U.S. Open on a long golf course. The Byron Nelson, another long track, finished really well at. He has the opportunity to gain some really strong momentum going in to Bethpage. And this is an event that I think is going to be monumental for his mental. He's been able to get so close every single time, but hasn't been able to pull out the big win in a couple of years. This is Sam Burns' opportunity to get that win, get over the hump, and carry some really strong momentum into a great Ryder Cup finish for him. You can get Sam Burns at... Where is he to win? Gosh almighty. Plus 2,000, 20 to 1 in the field. He's the 5th guy on the odds board. So that's who I have to win the Procore Championship. If I'm gonna give you a pick and a shout to win the BMW, I might as well do it for you. I'm gonna have 2 picks here at the BMW. I'm going to ride with Victor Hovland at 18 to 1. And I'm going to take Justin Rose at 35 to 1. Again, 2 Ryder Cuppers. I do think that both are going to be able to have really strong weeks and need to show out in a packed field amongst the Ryder Cup peers. That's going to do it all for us here. Thank you, everybody, so much for joining me, Stephen McAvoy, on episode 221 of the Get in the Hole podcast. Be sure to like, follow, subscribe on all of our social media platforms at Get in the Hole Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and beyond. Be sure to keep track of all of our videos, posts, and news coming in daily on our social media platforms. And go check us out on our Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube links at Get in the Hole Pod. You can also check us out at Underground Sports Philadelphia on YouTube. Be sure to leave a 5-star rating. Subscribe to our channels if you're already listening to the show and want to get more engagement for us. Tell your friends, tell your mom, tell your father, everybody that you love about Get in the Hole. But of course, the engagement goes way further if you just simply leave that 5-star rating, leave a comment on what you want to see. Check out the links in our description to all of our awesome sponsors at 47 brand, Tomahawk Shades, Kenwood Beer, Acorn Hills, McGregor Golf, and beyond. Be sure to check them all out on their platforms. Once again, episode 221 of the Get in the Hole podcast. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the golf. I'm Stephen McAvoy. Thanks for listening to Get in the Hole, the official golf podcast of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Catch us every week wherever you get your favorite podcasts, and be sure to like and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Get in the Hole Pod, and follow Underground Sports Philadelphia at Underground PHI. We'll see you next time. And remember, get in the hole!